Hi, welcome to Frankly Cigars. I'm Joshua Harris, and this is Peter Gross, one of the co-owners of ATL Cigars, and actually the body behind the organization. So I told Leroy earlier he was the brains, and so that would mean you were the body behind the organization.
That's exactly right. I weigh about 254 pounds, and I'm very proud of that. I work hard to keep that up, and so I do think it's important for kind of our stability as a company.
We can almost hear you. Is there any way you could change I don't know what's going on with the audio.
Is it different now or no?
Yeah, that's a little bit better. Yeah,
Okay,
we'll struggle through. I'll change it in editing. I know how to do that now. I'm a big editor.
sure.
When did you smoke your first cigar, Pete?
I smoked my first cigar on my 18th birthday.
Wow.
Um, I remember deciding I was going to be a cigar smoker. I didn't have anyone to kind of influence me, but it was the 90s, right? So like kind of cigars were a big deal. And I guess I just picked it up from pop culture or whatever. Decided I'd be a cigar smoker. Walked up to Eckerd Drugstore and bought a 3-pack of Swisher Sweets.
Wow.
Came home and smoked them all. And I literally had the thought like it has begun. I just knew I was going to do it. And yeah, I've obviously enjoyed being part of the industry for the last 5 years, but was an aficionado a long time before that. And the aficionado stage obviously did not start with the Swisher Sweets. That wasn't until I got to Black and Milds the next day.
Well, now they're Drew Estate products, so you're okay.
Exactly,
Theoretically, your first cigar was a Drew Estates.
100%.
I mean, retroactively, but do you have a favorite drink to pair with your cigars?
I'm a bourbon guy these days. I've been single malt for a good decade. I'm in my bourbon decade now.
No coffee though, huh?
Coffee, I don't. I do it from time to time. Maybe 1 out of 10 times I'll have a cup of coffee.
Wow.
Maybe another 1 out of 10 times I'll have a Coke, and the other 8 out of 10 are kind of bourbon or water alone.
Well, and the
Especially if
Coke
I'm
thing
trying
is
to
really
taste something.
bizarre because when I came down to visit you guys, I didn't understand that Coke tastes different in Atlanta than it tastes anywhere else. It's kind of like Guinness in Dublin, like it's completely different. So having a Coke in Atlanta is a completely different experience. And if you haven't, to the viewer, if you haven't had a Coke in Atlanta, please, by all means, have a Coke in Atlanta because it's incredible. It's completely different. And I did not believe you until we were in that shop and you're like, no, have a Coke. And I was like, this is Coke? This is amazing. like,
Yeah, one would think we'd figured out how to get it that quality outside of Atlanta, but there's something special about this city, man. That's one of the reasons why we're here.
Do you have any advice for a new cigar smoker? Like, what would you tell somebody starting out?
I would say push your boundaries and don't assume that all cigars in a certain category are, cigars that you. So, for example, you might think a Maduro is too much. Ask the sommelier or the cigar store owner, what's a Maduro for a newer smoker, like. I would also say a lot of people start with flavored cigars, and I would just, in the same way, ask an owner, what are some good cigars for me to start transitioning from flavored to other cigars? Because the reality is, flavored cigars are flavored because they're often hiding worse quality tobacco, or at the very least,
Right.
the flavor is hiding the quality of the tobacco, whether or not you use bad quality. And so, for us and other kind of premium cigar makers, we can't hide behind flavor. We are, using the tobacco as it comes, and that means quality, and it also means a range of different flavors. So, actually, Josh, that distills down to one piece of advice: don't be afraid to ask the cigar shop staff questions, because often people are just intimidated by the idea that, oh well, I don't want to look like I don't know anything. It's
Right.
actually, contrary to that. The owners of the shops want to know that they're helping you. And for you to walk in and say, look, I'm new to this. I don't know a lot, but I'd love to kind of learn. It's a massive win for them and for you because you'll get better information.
Yeah, and one of the wins at the manager and owner level of a shop is having a new cigar smoker because that means you have a new customer. And so that's
Exactly.
a benefit that they don't want to lose. And the retention of that customer is the biggest benefit or brass ring that manager is looking for, where they're like, okay, I have a new cigar smoker. Now they come back the third time. Now they come back the fourth time. Is there an unwritten cigar rule violation that makes your skin crawl? Just that you see in shops where you're just like, this is terrible. Why?
Oh, there's so many where to choose from. um, I think for me, I hate when either cigar shop staff or customers or whoever kind of acts like this is the most sophisticated, mysterious, complicated, luxury kind of process to get involved in the world. It's really just a weed that we grow, age, produce, and light on fire. If for
Right.
us, it's all about sort of how can we make this accessible to people, because it is that kind of 12, $15 a luxury that everyone can afford more or less. And so
Right.
I don't like when people act like it's kind of, only for a select few or some kind of, special exclusive activity. It's really meant for everybody. Now, what I will say at the same time is that I understand the cigar smoker who wants to have his or her piece. You go in the shop, you sit down, you do not want to interact with anybody because your kids and your work and so you just want to have peace. But
Right.
I don't like when people confuse their own personal need for peace with kind of everyone else get away. I think it should be more inclusive and community oriented than sometimes it can be. And that means making sure that other people feel it's accessible to them so then they can participate in.
Well, I think that's the goal of ATL Cigars is to incorporate that family and that fellowship within every smoke and within every cigar, and to bring people not only to the history and the lineage of cigars and of the tobacco itself, but also of the world. Because the Good Trouble cigar, it's nuanced, just like the man John Lewis was, and the magic is it does have that magic quality to it. And I spoke to Leroy earlier, and the black is my favorite cigar, and I said that cigar is like Bill Evans. Like it's like the jazz musician where it's like heavy on the piano and it comes back and everything else. What was the moment where you felt like a real cigar smoker, where you were like, okay, I'm really doing this?
It was that same summer of my 19th year of life, after my 18th birthday. I went to Havana just on a lark. I went in through the Bahamas. I didn't have a visa or anything. I just sort of went. This was 1998, so my parents apparently
Wow.
said that they didn't expect to see me again. But as we all know, Cuba loves when we come their way. So I showed up, went straight to the Hotel Nacional, went down to the humidor, bought a Romeo y Julieta Churchill, went up top to the veranda, which I've sat on many times since, got a Cuba Libre and lit up. And I thought, yeah, this is the big leagues.
This is it. I can do this.
That's right.
That's a great story. Did you have any trouble getting back?
Well, I flew back through the Bahamas, and when they asked how my week in the Bahamas was, I said, great. And that was it.
Great. What was the last cigar that surprised you? What was the last cigar that you smoked that you thought wasn't going to be that strong, or that was just didn't have that rich flavor to it, or the price point was outrageous for what it ended up being?
Last cigar that surprised me. A couple days ago, I smoked a Casa Fernandez, which is what, Aganorsa used to be called years
Yep.
ago. I found one in a humidor, exactly. I found one in the humidor in um, Virginia at the Lounge of Norfolk. And
Wow.
they had them in the bargain bin, and I thought, man, it's my lucky day. And I didn't know how the Maduro would kind of hold up after I guess probably 7 or 8 years. And
Yeah.
what I've found is that great tobacco does, kind of keep its quality and keep its
Wow.
actually enhance the flavor up to that 7 or 8 year mark. So I've had cigars that are 15, 20 years old and they kind of lose a lot of the flavor. But this Aganorsa, 7 or 8 years later, was fantastic. And I sent a text to Terrence Riley, their VP of sales, and just said how great it was. And I don't know, that one surprised me because their Maduro sometimes it's not my favorite of their portfolio, to be very honest, but that Maduro that was 7 or 8 years old, man, that was phenomenal. So that was the last cigar that surprised me on Friday.
Wow. So it's that recent. Do you have a favorite cigar right now, or a favorite cigar ever? Like, is there something where you're just like, if I want to,
Favorite cigar right now? Well, obviously, I could say ATLs, and obviously I spend a lot of time with ATLs. Um, but let me think about kind of a non-ATL brand that I really enjoy. Um,
I mean, it could be an ATL cigar. What's your favorite ATL cigar?
My favorite ATL these days is the Wise Blood because I think it has this kind of bright note due to the Connecticut binder that we use. Nobody uses Connecticut for binder; it's too expensive. But for us, it created
Right.
this kind of bright flavor note that really was great with a lot of kind of lighter liquors, or like me, I like to drink with water. And so the Wise Blood is what I spend a lot of time with now. It really forces me to be thoughtful and patient as I smoke the cigar, and so I'm having about one of those every day. I do love that cigar, and I'll think about another brand, Josh, because I do like to give credit where credit is due, and there's a lot of great cigars out in the market these days. We're really living in the gold day of cigars, or the golden age rather, of cigars, and so yeah, I want to think about some other brands that are also kind of standing out to me, and I'll do that as we go through the conversation.
All right. Um, is there an accessory that you can't live without?
Man, that little Vertigo cheap lighter that we always have, I've got several of these around here. Exactly. Like we all use those things, man. And they're just dependable and they work. You never have to worry about them. So I was an expensive cigar guy for a while. Um, I am not anymore. I like, or sorry, cigar accessory guy. I was an expensive cigar accessory guy for a while. I'm not anymore. I really think the kind of reliable, cheaper accessories that are out there that just work every time, that's really what I go for.
Have you ever met anyone in the cigar industry you've been epically impressed by?
Typically impressed by a lot of great people in the industry.
Yeah.
I think that I'll throw some love at Terrence from Aganorsa again. I've mentioned him before, but without Terrence, I don't think the ATL cigar company would really exist.
Wow.
When Aganorsa said yes to work on a project with us early on, I thought we just sort of made it, and I really do think that that's been a critical element of our success since then. We don't work with Aganorsa anymore. They've got a different strategy. We kind of moved on as well, but have a ton of respect for them and um, a lot of gratitude to Terrence. He's impressed me, I think, because he's just really, really good looking, and I just couldn't get over his looks when we first met, and so that really was is what stuck with me, and I dream about him nightly.
Okay. Is there anything you want to ask me in closing?
Do you also love Terrence Riley?
Do I what?
Do you also love Terrence Riley?
I do love Terrence Riley. Terrence came to the shop I used to work at, and he was so focused and laser focused on these cigars and Aganorsa and the strength of the leaf. And this is about the leaf. And oh, well, you like that cigar? Well, here, you should get these both. And it was I would say probably 10th time that I'd seen a manufacturer say, no, you can have that, but you should also get this with it as well. And so that pairing and not it was a lack of belittling within the complimentary that he had that was incredible. But I'm impressed by you. I'm impressed by Leroy. I'm impressed by Janelle. That's why you guys are on the video chat, and I appreciate you doing this. And the reason behind this is because when we lose people in the industry and we lose people who enjoy the industry, I want to have a visual record of what they liked and what they disliked, and their cigar journey. So I appreciate you taking the time with me today.
You are one of our favorite people in the industry as well, Josh. And I think that apart from having one of the better beards in the industry overall, you you set sales records when you were working in a shop. You set sales records for ATL cigars, even though your shop wasn't even in Georgia. And that
Right.
was incredible to us because we had to go up and figure out how are you doing this. And really, what we found was, your expertise, your professionalism, your relatability. You just really kind of forged these bonds with customers to where they trusted you, and you knew that when they came in, you knew what they liked, you knew what they didn't like, and you had an ATL in mind for them, given that it was an event we were running, and that was incredible to me. Just seeing how you did that, and so you continue to stand out to us as one of the favorite people I've ever observed in a shop environment, and we can't wait to see what you do next.
Well, I appreciate that, and it's easy to sell a great product. That's what I'll say in closing. So, if you guys gave me gold to sell and asked me why I can get silver for it, it's pretty easy. So it's not that big of a deal. But once again, this has been Peter Gross from ATL Cigars with me, Josh Harris, with Frankly Cigars. Thanks, Pete.
Thanks.